It's been 3 years now since the Alpha 1 test for Ashes of Creation, and since we only have about 2 months away from the Alpha 2, I felt it would be good to drop a review of my experience playing Alpha 1 and what I expect to change or be better in Alpha 2. All the footage in this video is from my gameplay during the first test, so let's get started. Let's start with the good. The best thing about Alpha 1 was the social aspect. I made hundreds of new friends out of pure necessity, because I wanted to hit all the content in the game, which I did. The fact that Ashes is an extremely social MMO, it's not going to change. The feeling of being part of something greater than yourself in a game is what MMOs were originally about. It's what originally got me hooked on MMOs. It brought me back to the classic WoW days, the Guild Wars 1 days, the Lineage 2 days for myself. There's no instances, so it feels like you're actually part of the world versus standing in town, queuing arenas like retail WoW is. The world felt real because you actually had to traverse it to get to the content. Even the dungeons were in the world. The movement in the game wasn't bad, especially riding on mounts felt good. Another positive is the art style. Some people state that they don't really like the art style or they don't feel like it has a strong art style. I tend to disagree. I think that a lot of their stuff is built handmade and a lot of the stuff looks really good. I really love some of the mounts too. Another positive was how long it took to level for me. It reminded me of grinding in Lineage 2. It takes a long time to level in Ashes, and it's going to when it launches. Some people hate the long grinding, but for me I enjoy it because I like to beat everybody to max level. You know, for example, when New World dropped, I hit level 60 before anybody else on the East Coast. If you don't believe me, you can check out my clips on my Twitch channel where you can see it happen. Link is in the description below. I plan to race to World First max level as well for Alpha 2, as I will be no-lifing this game when it drops. Another positive is that I really enjoyed the world bosses. So their varying mechanics were actually I was pretty surprised how much mechanics some of these bosses had with such an early iteration of the game. I think all these positives will only be better as we go into Alpha 2. And as we've seen, tons of iteration to the art style, bosses, graphics, movement, environment, all these types of things. You know, everything that I really enjoyed about Ashes in Alpha 1 has been shown to have already been improved, even though I already enjoyed it. So, I think overall, there's a lot of way more positives in Alpha 1 than negatives for sure. Now for the bad, the combat in Alpha 1 was okay, but nowhere near it needed to be for release. And I just want to preface before I go into the negatives that I'm stating negatives, but there should be negatives, right? It's a test. There should be problems. There should be things that are problematic and things that need to be updated and changed, right? That's why it's an Alpha 1. So when I say these things were bad, don't think of it as me shitting on the game. It's me telling you the things that I felt like needed the most improvement, right? So the combat in general, it was not in a good place. A lot of the skills didn't work properly or they would bug out. The lack of classes was also a negative. We were only able to use the cleric, the mage, the tank at the time of Alpha 1, so basically like the Holy Trinity. The skills were not all flushed out yet. The talent trees were a bit rudimentary. Luckily, based off all the Alpha 2 footage we've seen, they have greatly increased the fluidity and the complexity of the combat, the skill trees, and everything like that. Also, from my best guess, we'll probably have all the classes in the game, maybe with the exception of Bard and Summoner, because we haven't seen any footage yet of Bard and Summoner, even though they are going to be releasing Bard footage later this month, and I will definitely be reviewing that. Another negative was the PvP, or lack thereof. From my recollection, we were only allowed to PvP for 2 days out of the entire test, and the PvP, of course, wasn't the best because the combat was lacking at the time. Hoping in Alpha 2, PvP will not be disabled for the majority of the tests like last time, so I'm primarily a PvPer. Another negative was the crafting and gathering systems. They were very basic, didn't feel very good like a game such as New World. Like, New World had a lot of problems, but their crafting was actually really good. Their crafting and their gathering was very, very, very good. So hopefully they pull out of their book there, and we've seen some updates to that. All these negatives, have been shown in the updates to be improved upon, so I can't wait to get into Alpha 2 and get going. There were also other negatives such as the server stability and the performance issues. However, that is very much to be expected in a test and not something you can really bitch about. I will be participating in the Alpha 2 spot tests up until the Alpha 2 launch, although I am under NDA, so I'm not allowed to disclose any details about what I experience at this time. Alpha 1 was still the most fun I've had in an MMO in probably 10 years, even with the state it was in. So I can't wait to, have even more fun in Alpha 2. Please check out my Twitch channel, drop a follow over there for when I go live when Alpha 2 drops. I'll also be multi-streaming on YouTube, so subscribe over here. Also be looping old footage of Alpha 1 there while we await a drop on Twitch. Drop a comment down below how you feel Alpha 2 will be compared to Alpha 1. I'm curious your thoughts. Hope you guys all have a good day. Peace.